Hello and welcome to the kitchen of Cheng. But Beverly, you may ask, you're not standing in a kitchen. That's right, because my kitchen has terrible lighting. So what I've done instead is brought all the ingredients to the front of my condo so we can have good lighting for the video, and then I'm gonna bring everything back to cook it in the kitchen. It's not a waste of time at all. Completely normal. So as I mentioned in a video prior to this, I've been cutting eggs out of my diet just to see if it helps minimize the rashes that I've been getting kind of on my skin and on my hips. So I am in week 1 right now. It's been tough. It's been maybe the hardest thing I've ever gone through. I'm just kidding. But it has made me be a little bit creative in the kitchen of what I'm going to eat, because I like to have things that are high in protein. I like to be a little bit low carb, although I'm adding in potatoes. And of course I just love my eggs, so I just miss them. One of my new favorite recipes is a tofu scramble. So this recipe has been done many times, but I definitely wanted to share with you guys because it's one of my favorite ones. I'm also going to be sharing 2 more recipes today, except I'm going to be shooting them on 2 other different days, simply because I don't need to cook 3 breakfasts for myself in one day for one video. Why would I do that? I'm not going to eat 3 breakfasts. So I'm cooking one today, I'm going to film it, and I'll cook another one tomorrow, I'll film it, and then I'll cook a 3rd one on the 3rd day, and I'll film that. Alright, let's get to it. So first thing you're gonna do, you're gonna grab your tofu. I'm just kidding. You can leave the tofu for later. The ingredients you'll need for this recipe are a 1/3 to a 1/2 size portion of extra firm tofu. Boiled potatoes is completely up to you, whatever you want to saute your veggies with. I just had these in the fridge, so I'm gonna use them up. I also love red onion, so I'm using a little bit of that. And kale. So this is a lot of kale. I might just make extra and store it for later. For spices, we have cumin, garlic, turmeric, chili powder, and table salt. And you will also need a little bit of water as well. First thing you're going to do, you're going to take your tofu and wrap it in some paper towel just to get some of the moisture out. Leave that to the side, and then you're going to start on the rest of the recipe. If you're using a red onion, chop it up into small pieces and just set your potatoes aside. I had potatoes in the fridge ready to go, but if you don't have any, now's the time that you're just going to boil some water and boil the potatoes until they're nice and soft. With the kale, you're going to rinse it and then grab the pieces, and you can rip them up with your hands, nothing too fancy, just make them a little bit more bite-sized friendly. Alright, moving on to the sauce. This is the most important part of the meal because the sauce is what makes everything so delicious and tasty and really makes the tofu so much better than if it was just on its own. So I didn't really measure anything out, I kind of just eyeballed it, but I'm using about 1/2 teaspoon to a teaspoon of salt, then about a teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric, 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder, because this stuff is pretty spicy, so if you don't like spice, I would just leave it out. And then finally, about a teaspoon of cumin. You're going to mix that all up, and then you're going to add a little bit of water and stir it together. Obviously, the more water you pour in, the more watery the sauce will be. Your tofu should be a bit drier now, so put it onto a plate and just kind of start hacking away at it with a fork just to make it look kind of like scrambled egg texture. Now we're going to head over to my horribly lit kitchen and finish the rest of the recipe. So heat up a little bit of olive oil in a pan on medium heat. Add in your red onions and the potatoes if you're using them, and let them cook for about 5 minutes or until the red onion is translucent and the potatoes are starting to get a little bit brown. Then you're going to add in your kale, however much you want to use. The kale does shrink a little bit after it's been cooked, so the more the better. Add a little bit of sea salt, and then you're going to do the tofu. So I like to add a little bit more olive oil to the pan just to make sure nothing sticks, and then add in your tofu. Let the tofu cook for about 5 minutes, just getting it a little bit crispy on the outside, and then you're going to pour on that cumin and turmeric sauce that we just made. Stir it all up with a spatula, breaking up the tofu pieces that are a little bit big until it's all evenly coated. And just like that, you're done. I would not add any more hot sauce to this dish because the chili powder in the tofu sauce is pretty spicy, so I just leave it as it is. And yeah, it's really delicious. You could top with avocado or maybe even some mild salsa. Or spicy, if you really like spice. Okay, so the second recipe I'm going to show you is a tempeh and Brussels sprout hash. So it's really low carb. If you want to add potatoes, you can. I'm not for this one. For the ingredients, you'll need a piece of tempeh. So you can either get it in a block and cut it in half, or you can get the strips at the grocery store. A quarter of a red onion. Again, I love red onion, so if you don't love it as much as I do, you don't have to use that much. Brussels sprouts, and then for the sauce, we have balsamic vinegar, maple syrup, garlic powder, paprika, salt, Dijon mustard, and you'll need olive oil as well. And the last thing you'll need is an avocado. First things first, you are not going to win any beauty awards for this recipe, but I always find that sometimes the weirder dishes always taste the best, and this is definitely true for this one. So first you're going to grab your Brussels sprouts. I used about 8 of them. You're going to cut off the ends and then cut them up into little fine pieces, as fine as you can. Place them all into a bowl, and then you're going to start on the tempeh. So if you get a large block like this, I get this from a health food store, but you can also get the strips at pretty much any grocery store in the veggie aisle. So cut up the tempeh into about inch-sized pieces. Put those aside as well. Now we're going to cut up the red onions, similar as you did in the first recipe, just small little slices. Alright, now let's do the sauce. Again, I didn't measure any of this, it was all just eyeballing it, but I'd say I used about 2 tablespoons of the balsamic vinegar, a teaspoon of the garlic powder, half a teaspoon of paprika, a teaspoon of Dijon mustard, and a teaspoon of maple syrup. All kind of weird ingredients, but trust me, when they all get together, they have a really good party. And we're back to the dimly lit kitchen. Here we go. Okay, you're going to heat up olive oil in a pan again on medium heat, and you're going to add in the red onion and a little bit of sea salt and cook until the red onion is translucent. Then add in the tempeh and the Brussels sprouts, and you're going to let this cook for about 10 minutes or until the Brussels sprouts are getting pretty soft. I also added a little bit of water to the pan just so the Brussels sprouts could get a little bit softer a little bit faster. Now you're going to add in the balsamic vinegar sauce, and you're going to let that cook for another 2 to 3 minutes or until the tempeh and Brussels sprouts and everything looks completely cooked and ready to go. Next, you're just going to place it all onto a plate, like I said, not the prettiest of recipes, and you're going to add half an avocado. I highly recommend adding the avocado to this dish because it's kind of fresh and not coated with any sort of sauce, and it's just a nice addition with the tempeh and the Brussels sprouts. And there you have it, recipe number 2. Okay, as you can see, you need very little ingredients for this recipe. You need a quarter cup of oats, 2 tablespoons of chia seeds, maple syrup. I have a heaping tablespoon of peanut butter, and this almond coconut milk blend. Of course, you can use whatever milk you prefer. This recipe also will need some toppings. I'm going to be using some kiwis, raspberries, and hemp seeds for mine. This third and final recipe is the easiest. It's overnight oats with chia seeds and peanut butter. So first you're going to add in a cup of almond milk or whatever milk you like. You can use coconut or soy. Then add in 2 tablespoons of chia seeds, 1/4 cup of oats, 1 teaspoon of maple syrup, and a heaping tablespoon of peanut butter. And I mean heaping. Then you're going to mix everything together until it's completely combined. Put some plastic wrap over the jar, and then you're going to place it in the fridge overnight. If you don't have time to leave it in overnight, then leave it in for at least 2 to 3 hours if you can. The next day, you're going to grab a bowl and grab your chia and oat mixture. This is where the fun part comes in because you get to add whatever toppings you want. I went for some melted raspberries, some fresh kiwis, and this delicious breakfast cereal mix that has absolutely no grains or no sugar in it. It's from KZ Clean Eating. I'll tag it below in the caption so you guys can grab a discount or check it out for yourself. That's all there is to this recipe. It's so easy and it's so yummy and customizable to whatever you like. I hope that you like this recipe as much as I do. Okay, I know I said I would film this over the course of 3 days. It actually took me the course of 2 weeks, but I got her done, and that's all that matters. So those are 3 high protein breakfasts. They're all vegan. As you can see, I use tofu, I use tempeh, I use chia seeds. The last one is maybe not as high protein as the others, but I added up all the ingredients that were in it. There's peanut butter, there's chia seeds, there's oats, and the toppings that go on top. And it still came out to 16 or 18 grams of protein, which is really good if you are a vegan and you just want a high protein breakfast. Anyway, I hope you got some good ideas from this video. You try them yourself. And if you do, don't forget to tag me on Instagram at Beverly Cheng. I want to see what you guys make. Alright, I'm gonna end this here. I'm starving, so I'm gonna eat my delicious breakfast, and I'll see you guys next time.